If you own a PS5 in 2026, here are 25 AAA games that absolutely belong on your hard drive right now. Starting off this list at number 1, Elden Ring is simply one of the greatest open-world action RPGs ever made on any platform. From Software took everything they mastered with Dark Souls and Sekiro, then handed George R.R. Martin a pen and said, "Go wild with the lore." The result is a massive, hauntingly beautiful world full of discovery at every turn. Challenging? Yes, but that feeling when you finally beat a boss you have been stuck on for hours is genuinely unmatched. With the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC adding even more content, there has never been a better time to jump in. Coming in at number 2, God of War Ragnarok is the kind of AAA masterpiece that reminds you why PlayStation exclusives have such a loyal fan base. Kratos and Atreus are back, and this time the Norse mythology is going all the way to its violent conclusion. The combat is tight, the puzzles are clever, and the emotional moments hit harder than you would expect from a game where a bald man smashes giants with a magical axe. Sony Santa Monica packed every inch of this with detail, and the 9 realms have never looked better on PS5 hardware. 3 on the list goes to Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and Insomniac delivered here in a big way. Playing as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales gives the game a dynamic energy that the first entry was missing, and swinging through a bigger, more detailed New York City using the web wings never gets old. The Venom storyline is handled with more care than most superhero films manage, and the DualSense haptics genuinely make you feel the weight of each web pull. If you are any kind of fan of the franchise, this is a must-have. Number 4 is The Last of Us Part 1, a full PS5 remake of Naughty Dog's 2013 masterpiece that holds up as one of the most emotionally devastating games ever created. Joel and Ellie's cross-country survival story is told with cinematic precision, and the rebuilt visuals on PS5 are genuinely stunning. Every enemy encounter feels dangerous and deliberate. This is survival horror storytelling at its absolute best. And even if you played the original version years ago, this remake gives you every reason to experience it again from the start. Horizon Forbidden West lands at number 5, and Guerrilla Games built one of the most visually breathtaking open worlds you will ever walk through on any console. Alloy ventures into the western United States, where mechanical dinosaurs roam post-apocalyptic landscapes filled with competing human tribes and dangerous terrain. The combat system is deep, the side quests are genuinely interesting, and the Burning Shores DLC adds even more to an already packed experience. If you want to stress test what your PS5 can actually do visually, this is the game to load up. At number 6, we have Baldur's Gate 3, which landed on PS5 and proceeded to completely embarrass most AAA releases with its sheer depth and quality. Larian Studios gave you a full Dungeons & Dragons campaign with branching choices, deep companion relationships, and turn-based combat that rewards creativity. You can solve quests through combat, diplomacy, stealth, or pure absurdist chaos, and the game responds to all of it. It is the kind of RPG you sink 60 hours into and still feel like you missed half the content, which is honestly a high-quality problem to have. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes in at 7, and Square Enix outdid themselves with the middle chapter of this epic remake trilogy. Cloud and the gang leave Midgar and explore a massive, gorgeous open world full of minigames, story content, and some of the most visually spectacular boss fights in RPG history. The combat is fast, stylish, and satisfying once it clicks. Queen's Blood alone could have been its own standalone card game. This is a deeply ambitious project with a huge amount of heart behind it, and JRPG fans will not be disappointed. Number 8 is Astro Bot, and do not let the cute exterior fool you, because this is one of the best pure platformers released in years on any platform. Team Asobi crammed this game full of PlayStation history, love letters to gaming culture, and level design so inventive that it constantly surprises you. The DualSense integration is the best showcase of what the controller can actually do, from feeling rain on your fingers to the resistance of pulling a bowstring. It won the Game Award for Game of the Year, and that was absolutely the right call. Coming in at 9, Death Stranding 2 on the beach is Hideo Kojima at his most ambitious and somehow most accessible. Sam Corder-Bridges is back on another globe-spanning delivery mission, but this time the narrative stakes are even higher, and the gameplay loop is significantly refined. The post-apocalyptic landscapes are hauntingly gorgeous, the music hits at exactly the right moments, and the asynchronous multiplayer, where strangers helping without ever meeting, is still one of the most unique ideas in gaming. This earned a near-perfect score on the PlayStation Store, for good reason. At number 10, we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which surprised just about everyone by delivering one of the most emotionally resonant RPGs of the generation. Sandfall Interactive blended turn-based combat with real-time parrying and dodging in a way that feels genuinely fresh, and the Belle Epoque-inspired world is absolutely gorgeous. The story deals with themes of grief and sacrifice without flinching, and the voice cast, featuring Charlie Cox among others, gives the characters real weight. This competed seriously for Game of the Year in 2025, and more than earned its reputation. 11 on the list is Resident Evil Requiem, which launched in February 2026 and immediately reminded everyone that Capcom knows exactly what they are doing with this franchise. The survival horror tension is back in full force, with tight resource management, terrifying enemy design, and that constant feeling that you are just barely hanging on. The PS5 version makes excellent use of the DualSense for atmospheric feedback, and the story takes the lore in some genuinely unexpected directions. Capcom has been on an incredible run, and Requiem is another entry in that streak. Number 12 is Saros, the April 2026 PS5 exclusive from Housemarque that built on everything Returnal established and pushed it even further. You play as Arjun on the alien planet Carcosa, surviving punishing roguelike runs in combat that is fast, fluid, and deeply satisfying. The new parry mechanic adds another layer of skill expression, and the lore reveals itself slowly across multiple runs in a way that rewards persistence. It debuted with one of the highest review scores of any PS5 exclusive this year and fully delivers on the hype that Returnal built around Housemarque's name. 13 goes to Nioh 3, the latest chapter in Team Ninja's demanding action RPG series that continues to stand as one of the most mechanically rich Souls-like experiences available. The combat system, with its stance switching and key management, rewards players who invest time learning it, and the supernatural Japanese setting is visually distinct from anything else in the genre. The loot system gives you a constant sense of progression, and the sheer variety in weapon types means there is always a new build to experiment with. Fans of challenging action games will not be let down. Black Myth Wukong hits at 14, and this one genuinely shook the gaming industry when it launched by proving that Chinese studios can compete at the very highest level of AAA game development. The game follows the Monkey King's journey through a mythological world inspired by Journey to the West, and the visuals are among the most technically impressive on PS5. The boss fights are creative and demanding, and the world is filled with secrets that reward exploration and curiosity. It was a cultural moment and a genuinely excellent game at the same time. At number 15, we have Metaphor ReFantazio, which Atlus delivered as a full fantasy RPG with the same DNA as the Persona series, but with an entirely new setting and identity. The turn-based combat is tight and stylish, the art direction is stunning, and the story tackles political themes with more nuance than most games dare to attempt. Your party members are memorable, the social systems give you meaningful choices about how to spend your time, and the pacing is remarkably consistent across what is a very long game. GameSpot named it one of their Games of the Year, and the praise was well-deserved. Alan Wake 2 takes spot 16, and Remedy Entertainment delivered one of the most genuinely creative and strange AAA games released this generation. The dual narrative structure, flipping between Alan and FBI agent Saga Anderson, keeps the storytelling dynamic and surprising, while the survival horror gameplay ramps up the tension with ever feeling cheap. The live-action sequences and meta-storytelling are ambitious in ways that most publishers would never approve, and the fact that this exists as a big-budget release is something to appreciate. Atmospheric, weird, and incredibly well-made. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is number 17, and Sucker Punch's samurai epic stands as one of the most visually stunning games ever made. The island of Tsushima is a painting brought to life, every field of flowers and bamboo forest making you want to stop and just look around. Jin Sakai's story of personal sacrifice and changing identity is told with genuine maturity. And the combat system, with its different stances and dueling mechanics, feels uniquely satisfying. The Iki Island expansion adds more story content that is absolutely worth your time. 18 is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which was the PS5's first real showcase of what the console's hardware could actually do when pushed properly. The dimension-hopping gameplay uses the SSD in ways that produce seamless transitions between entirely different worlds in a fraction of a second, and it still impresses even years later. Rivet is a fantastic addition to the franchise. The weapons are creative and fun, and the whole thing moves at 60 frames per second with ray-traced visuals that look like a Pixar film. Pure, uncut fun from start to finish. Gran Turismo 7 lands at 19 as the definitive driving simulation on PS5, and one of the best the franchise has ever produced. Polyphony Diffidal packed in hundreds of meticulously detailed cars, an incredible variety of real-world tracks, and a progression structure built around the joy of collecting and customizing vehicles. The DualSense integration for racing is exceptional, with the triggers providing realistic resistance that actually changes depending on the condition of your tires and brakes. Whether you are a casual fan or a hardcore sim racer, there is something here for you. Number 20 is Returnal, which remains one of the most genuinely demanding and rewarding PS5 exclusives available. Housemarque blended third-person bullet hell shooting with roguelike structure and wrapped it in a genuinely unsettling psychological horror story about a space pilot trapped in a time loop on an alien planet. Each run teaches you something new, and the moment everything clicks and you start stringing runs together is one of the most satisfying feelings in modern gaming. The DualSense usage for different weapons is excellent, and the PS5 Pro version runs beautifully. Final Fantasy XVI comes in at 21, and Square Enix took the franchise in a bold new direction with this action-focused, mature, dark fantasy epic. The world of Valistia is rich with political conflict. The icon battles are absolutely enormous and spectacular, and Clive Rossfield is one of the more compelling protagonists the series has produced in years. The combat shifts significantly from the turn-based roots of the franchise, so JRPG purists should adjust expectations. But as a pure action RPG with a gripping story and incredible production values, it delivers in a major way. 22 is the Demon's Souls remake, Bluepoint Games' stunning reconstruction of From Software's PlayStation classic that launched alongside the PS5 and still looks incredible. This is where the Souls-like genre truly began, and experiencing it with current-gen visuals and performance makes it feel completely fresh. The level design is masterful, the interconnected world is a joy to explore, and the boss encounters range from brutally challenging to genuinely clever. If you have any interest in the Souls lineage or just want to understand where it all started, this is essential. Street Fighter VI takes number 23, and Capcom delivered what many players consider the best entry in the franchise's legendary history. The World Tour Story Mode gives you a surprisingly deep single-player experience. Drive system combat mechanics add new layers of offensive and defensive depth, and the Battle Hub online community is genuinely thriving years after launch. The roster is packed with iconic fighters alongside exciting new additions. The rollback netcode works well, and the presentation is slick and confident. Fighting game fans on PS5 owe it to themselves to play this. Lies of P is 24 on the list, and Nioh Wiz proved that you can take a familiar Souls-like formula and make it feel fresh with the right setting, story, and mechanical tweaks. Playing as a mechanical Pinocchio navigating a dark industrial city full of puppet monsters is such a specific creative vision, and it completely works. The weapon assembly system, where you mix blades and handles to create your preferred playstyle, adds meaningful customization. And the lies mechanic, where your dialogue choices actually affect the story, is a clever layer on top of the genre standard. A genuinely excellent debut for this studio. And rounding out the list at number 25 is Helldivers 2, the surprise hit that basically broke PlayStation servers when it launched and turned into one of the most talked about multiplayer games in recent memory. Arrowhead Game Studios built a third-person shooter where cooperative chaos and friendly fire are part of the fun, and the live service model of adding new enemies, missions, and stratagems kept the community constantly engaged. Fighting giant alien bugs and robots with your squad while stratagems rain down around you creates moments of pure comedy and genuine tension at the same time.